So First Man is a biopic that is about Neil Armstrong and his space mission to the moon. And it's a film that's directed by Damien Chazelle and it stars Ryan Gosling. First Man premiered at the Venice Film Festival along with a lot of other films that I am really wanting to see this Oscar season. Everything from Suspiria, Cuarón's Roma, and Lanthimos is the Favorite. A lot of great films played at this festival, and a lot of them have been receiving immense praise, including Cuarón's Roma. And First Man also was receiving, lots of praise from critics and whatnot. But with it also came some controversy. When I first heard about this controversy, it didn't really get under my skin all that much. It didn't really bother me. And I think it's just because I just thought it was silly. For reasons that I'll get into in a second. Bear with me. And also because I felt like this seems like something that would totally just come from extreme conservatives in the far right. This didn't seem like an actual... this to me didn't seem like an actual controversy. It just seemed like the far right was just kind of reaching for something, trying to find something to hate about Hollywood again. And it turns out it's not really like that. It turns out that pretty much I've talked to people, I've talked to film lovers, I've talked to liberals, I've talked to conservatives, and I found that there's a mixed bag of everybody within that spectrum that, also kind of takes issue with it. And for those of you who don't know what the controversy is, basically, the film First Man, which again follows Neil Armstrong in his space mission, apparently did not include the scene where Neil Armstrong erects the American flag on the moon. So, of course, on the surface, this seems like something that is an issue, but once you really think about it just a little bit more for a few seconds, you'll realize that this is something that's kind of redundant and something that's the total non-issue in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is because there are plenty of valid and reasonable artistic arguments to do what this film decided to do. If this film only did that in order to appeal to a larger market, if that was the only reason that I could see that this happened, then I would be like, okay, that's shallow, totally selling out, compromising your artistic integrity, all that stuff. But there's so many reasonable artistic sentiments that can be read from a choice like this. But before I really get into those reasons, I want to go ahead and just convey the main argument against this decision. Really the main concern that I keep hearing about this choice is that, this is Hollywood or just the film industry in general trying to kind of be dishonest about history just so that the film can be in accordance to their own values. And again, on the surface, this might seem like a valid concern, but if you just spend a little bit of time assessing it and thinking about it, to me, it's really silly because, one, it's not really altering history. I mean, we know that Americans did it, right? I mean, and I'm pretty sure the film is going to make it very apparent that Americans are behind this venture. It's not like just because this film decided to exclude that scene means that, one, people are gonna not know that the flag is up there. I mean, everybody knows the flag's up there. Anybody can look it up on Google, and you could probably find some crazy satellite images of the moon that can also show you the moon landing site and the flag. And two, it's not like anybody's gonna be confused that America did it. Again, like just because they don't have that scene, it's not like people are gonna be confused and be like, huh? Who did that? Again, we already know that the Americans are behind this. This is not news. This is just basic history. It's already in the textbooks. It's in all the history books. And every single documentary of the millions that exist about Neil Armstrong's space mission, it's in there. So it's not like this film is altering history and is just trying to erase it. We all know Americans are behind it. Both Ryan Gosling and the director Damien Chazelle have, of course, already been questioned about this subject. And here's what they had to say. Okay, so this is what the director Damien Chazelle responded with. I'm not going to read all of it because it's kind of lengthy. I don't want to bore you with that shit, but I'll just read the first paragraph. In First Man, I show the American flag standing on the lunar surface, but the flag being physically planted into the surface is one of several moments of the Apollo 11 lunar EVA that I chose not to focus upon. To address the question of whether this was a political statement, the answer is no. My goal with this movie was to share with audiences the unseen, unknown aspects of America's mission to the moon, particularly Neil Armstrong's personal saga and what he may have been thinking and feeling during those famous few hours. And guys, I totally get that statement. to me, that seems 100% reasonable. If I was a director making this film, I would actually probably do the same thing to try to detract politics from it. I feel like if I would have the flag in there, I have a whole scene dedicated to Neil Armstrong planting the flag, that can easily come off political, and it can also become pandery to the point where people might get the wrong message from your art product. If I was behind this ambitious biopic, the last thing that I would want is for audience members to walk out of the theater going, "America, fuck yeah, coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah." And again, on top of that, his vision for what he wanted to do with the film, again, makes sense. You don't want to politicize it. You want to just try to get inside the mind of Armstrong's character and try to convey those inner feelings and thoughts that he was feeling during these gigantic moments in human history. Okay, so this is what Ryan Gosling responded with concerning the flag controversy. Gosling said it was his view that Armstrong's moonwalk, quote-unquote, transcended countries and borders, according to quotes featured in UK's Telegraph reportedly from a press conference at the Venice Film Festival. Quote-unquote, I think this was widely regarded in the end as a human achievement, and that's how we chose to view it. Gosling reportedly said, quote-unquote, I also think Neil was extremely humble, as were many of these astronauts, and time again, he deferred the focus from himself to the 400,000 people who made the mission possible. Gosling, who is Canadian and joked he, quote-unquote, might have a cognitive bias, added, so I don't think that Neil viewed himself as an American hero. From my interviews with his family and people that knew him, it was quite the opposite, and he wanted the film to reflect Neil. And guess what? That also sounds perfectly reasonable. And I don't really see how anybody reading that could see that as unreasonable. I mean, executing such a dangerous and elaborate mission of going to the moon and walking on it, that's much more of a human achievement than it is a nationalistic one. And I'm one that I kind of despise just tribalism and nationalism in general, and I don't despise patriotism so much, but I don't like it very much. I don't know, it's just, to me, I always thought it was depressing that the only reason we got to the moon at that rate was because of the fact that we were just competing with another big piece of land. And it's like the only way we can really get people to focus on space exploration and science and get the government to fund it and really put tons of focus on it is if we're having this petty dick measuring contest with another country. So in a sense, I actually kind of admire this choice because, you know, for once we get a film that chooses to not politicize something so great and huge, something that's just an extraordinary achievement in mankind, and just decides to make it about the person and the overall gigantic manpower that was needed in order to make something like this big happen. I'll say it again. Landing on the moon is 100% more of a human achievement than it is a nationalistic one. That's what I'll always say, and it should be that way. And honestly, to me, the only reason I could see why somebody would really take their time to film Neil Armstrong planting the American flag on the moon is to be political, to really send a message that, oh, Americans did this, so you better remember that the United States of America did this shit. What I'm getting at is that, to me, it just seems so much more political to go out of your way to have an entire scene where Neil Armstrong implants the American flag on the moon than it is just to not show it. And I'm not sure if anybody's going to agree with me on that, but that's just the way I feel. Well, alright guys, I guess I went ahead and tired this topic out. I really hope you enjoyed what I had to say about this. If you disagree with me, you know, that's cool. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion with you about this. And for those who do agree with me, if you really like what I had to say, please give it a thumbs up and also share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the Misfit Pawn channel to be updated on more film-related content.